Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're taking a look at a really cool Lost Zone box deck. And I played some games with this deck and this list, and it was really fun to play, and it also seems to be pretty good. In Japan it's one of I feel like it's one of the more popular decks. It's like this kind of single prize Lost Zone box. We're going to be taking a look at my variation on it. There's a lot of different ways you can play it because there's a bunch of different attackers. Like you can kind of make the deck lean more towards Cramorant as a main attacker. You can add in a whole bunch of different attackers. This one, it does have Cramorant in it because Cramorant is just really good, but it has a bunch of other tech attackers and alternate attackers it can use. Now this is almost entirely a single prize deck. There's one single prize Pokemon that's a Drakebandv, and I'll get there in a minute. But let's just start out with the common Lost Zone stuff, which is 4 Comfey. If you've watched any of my other videos or anyone's videos about the Lost Zone Nation, this card should be pretty familiar to you, allowing you to look to top 2 cards of your deck, one of them in your hand, one of them in the Lost Zone. Helps power up, or helps get your hand ready, as well as getting cards in the Lost Zone for your powerful training cards and attacks. And then the Cramorant, which we do have 2 of, and it's the only attacker we actually have 2 of in here, and that's just because it is a pretty decent attacker. Its ability, Lost Supply, says that if you have 4 cards or more in the Lost Zone, then its attacks cost 0 energy. And the attack, combining Spit for 110 damage, its attack damage is infected by weakness, so it's just a straight 110 for free, which is pretty decent, especially when a choice belt that will 2-shot everything in the game that is relevant, almost like it won't 2-shot you VMAX or Ice Rider, but it will 2-shot a V-Stars, which is super nice. And it's just all around a really solid attacker. It knocks out Sableye easily, and the most important thing I think is the ability. It says you only have to have 4 in a Lost Zone, and 4 is pretty easy to do. That's just 2 Comfey flower picking as well as a Colress. Pretty easy to pull off. So it's a really nice early game attacker. And that's the reason we were playing 2 of them. We can also recycle them if we need to attack with more than 2 in a game, which is really nice. Then the other main component of this deck is going to be the Radiant Charizard, which is just a crazy really good card. It has the ability Excited Heart that says that this Pokemon's attack cost is colorless less for each prize card that your opponent's already taken. Now the attack cost looks pretty steep on the face, but for fire and 4 colorless, it does 250 and can't use Combustion Blast next turn. However, it will make that attack cheaper with the ability. So if your opponent has only 2 prize cards left, this Radiant Charizard attacks for just 1 fire energy, which is really strong, really good. With a choice belt that you're hitting 280, which is the key number. Radiant Charizard is a really good card, and basically kind of the idea here is that early game you're going with the Cramorant, soften things up with the Cramorant, hitting some knockouts with the Cramorant, and then late game you just go in and sweep with a Radiant Charizard or 2. Because you can recycle those Radiant Charizards. And the next Pokemon we have is going to be 1 copy of Sableye, and this Sableye is another pretty main component of the deck. It has the attack Lost Mind that you can only use if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. So Psychic Energy, you can only use it if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. However, if you do have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone, it has a super powerful attack allowing you to spread 12 damage counters wherever you want. Now this can just straight up, if you manage to just absolutely turbo through your deck, go on a tear, and get 10 cards in the Lost Zone by turn 2, then you're going to be able to knock out 2 Sobbles with 1 attack, which is really crazy. But if you're not, that's fine. You can use the Lost Mind, maybe take a prize on a Drizzile, and also set up Pokemon to be knocked out with Radiant Charizard, because you put 90 on a Drizzile, knock it out, take a cheeky little prize, and then put 30 on a V-Star to set it up for a knockout with Radiant Charizard. You can finish knockouts that your Cramorant wasn't able to finish, because if you have 1 choice belt on a Cramorant, you do 140, and then you don't have a choice belt on another Cramorant, then that V-Star will be 30 away from being knocked out, and then the Lost Man can come in and finish that up. It's just a really good cleanup Pokemon that can fix some of the awkward math that our deck can have, and it only costs 1 Psychic Energy. So it's a really decent attacker if you get it up and running. And the next attacker we have is 1 copy of Snorlax. Now this Snorlax, I tweeted about this if you follow me on Twitter at Professor Poke. I tweeted about this Snorlax and how it just seems super mediocre, and on the face of it, it is pretty mediocre. It has an ability that's pretty useless. It's to prevent all effective attacks from your opponent's Pokemon on this Pokemon, which is not good. I think the only thing it really prevents in this Lost Origin format is Guillotine of V-Stars, V-Star power. That's probably the main one I can think of. Is it prevents Guillotina's V-Star power. Other than that, the ability is pretty useless, but the attack for 3 colors energy is 180, and this Pokemon's asleep, and you flip 2 coins instead of 1 for it to wake up. Now, yeah, it seems like really mediocre. Like 3 for 180 is like okay, but the main reason this card is good is because it is a single prize Pokemon that can take knockouts on opposing Cramorants and opposing Shady Dealings and Teleon that are using Aqua Bolt to attack. It can take hits from those and it can knock them out in return. So that's the idea behind it. A bunch of Japanese people responded like it's really good for just knocking out a bunch of odd Pokemon. It can knock out Radiant Charizard. Snorlax has a lot of different uses, and you can power it up with Mirage Gate to finish it all off. That's another reason also why the Radiant Charizard is really good with the Lost Zone Energy, just because you can use Mirage Gate to easily accelerate energy to it to power it up to do that big 250 attack even earlier than you usually would. And the Snorlax, once again, going back, it just costs 1 Mirage Gate and an Eternum attachment to do a Swift 180. Joy Spell, you do 210, so then you're knocking out Ice Rider Vs, which is kind of cool. It just has a couple different uses, main ones being into those other single prize attackers that usually do like the 110, 120 damage range. And then the other one we have is 1 copy of Ditto from Pokemon Go that has the sudden transformation ability that allows you to copy the attacks of any basic Pokemon that you have in your discard pile. Well, obviously, if you're copying Radiant Charizard with this, you won't be able to get through it decreased attack cost because the Ditto does not have the Radiant Charizard's ability. If you're copying Radiant Charizard with this, you're gonna have to have all how many is it? Yeah, you're gonna have to have all 5 energy attached to the Ditto, which is not unlikely. It's definitely possible. You have a decent amount of energy, but that much commitment to a Ditto and you can just ordinary Radiant Charizard back and reuse it, probably not gonna be that great. I think the main reason this Ditto that you'll be using it for is going to be to copy that Snorlax again and that Sableye. You do have water energy, so you actually can copy Cramorant as well. If you get the 2 water energy and a colorless on there, the Ditto can copy the Cramorant's attack, which isn't bad. Once again, you don't get the attack for free. You don't get to copy the Cramorant's attack for free because the Ditto doesn't have the ability that says if you have the 4 in the Lost Zone, attacks for free. But it's just pretty useful in general for copying Snorlax and Sableye and sometimes Cramorant, so you'll be playing it. The Ditto also is a flex spot if you want to play a different attacker over the Ditto, you can. If you just want to play just different attackers in general, like there's that Mimikyu that is pretty good. That says, I believe it's Psychic Color, 10 damage for each damage counter on all your opponent's Pokemon, which is a really good actually. If you hit something Radiant Charizard for not a knockout, you can just go ahead and your Mimikyu, if they retreat that thing that does 250 damage on it, your Mimikyu now, if you power that guy up, will be hitting to a 250 because it has, because the thing on the bench has 250 on it. So the Mimikyu could replace the Ditto. You could also add a Mimikyu into the deck and still keep the Ditto because the Mimikyu is a decent thing to copy with the Ditto. So there's a lot of different things that the Ditto enables. And it's also just a pretty nice flex spot as well if you don't like the Ditto in here. The last attacker we have is our only V Pokemon. That's 1 copy of Drakebandv. This has the Wild Style ability. Actually, pretty cool attack name, or ability name. I didn't read that ability till when I printed out this card today. And that's pretty cool ability name. But the Wild Style ability says this Pokemon's attack costs colorless less for each Pokemon that your opponent has in play. That is, I believe it's I think it's all the strikes. Yeah, so each colorless less for each Pokemon your opponent has in play. That is Single Strike, Rapid Strike, or Fusion Strike. And the big one that sticks out here is obviously going to be Fusion Strike because Mew wants to have a lot of Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. And the attack, which is 4 colorless energy conveniently for 190 damage, if your opponent has 4 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, then the Drakebandv attacks for free, and it does 190, which weakness knocks out Mew. So this Drakebandv is just a Pokemon that can just nuke a Mew, and even after that Drakebandv is knocked out, you can like ordinary ride it back in the deck so they can't Echoing Hornet to get like double dip off the prizes, and then from there you can use like Sableye, Radiant Charizard, Cramorant to finish up the game. After you take just 1 huge knockout, Drakebandv is really only here for the Mew matchup, as it is weak to fighting. If it wasn't weak to fighting, it also might be decent versus Rapture Urshifu because they wouldn't be able to knock it out easily. But because they can knock it out easily, it's pretty much only useful versus Mew. But still a really useful thing to have. It's just a Pokemon you can just put down versus Mew and just knock out anything, which is super nice. And our last Pokemon is 1 copy of Manatee, mainly because we just don't want our Comfies being ready for shit, and that is pretty much it. Our supporters, 4 copies of Colress's Experiment, which allows you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 3 of them in your hand, and then Lost Zone the other 2. So not only does it get 2 cards in the Lost Zone to power up your Mirage Gates, power up your Cramorant or your Sableye's attacks, but it also is a pretty nice draw supporter that allows you to take 3 of the best 3 cards from the top 5 of your deck, which is pretty often all you're going to need. Like, there's not often where you have 4 really good cards that you really need on the top of your deck. Usually you only have 2 or 3. Of course, you just lets you take those, lost on the ones you don't need, and those just go into paying for your tax. Really, really solid supporter. Next to boss, because we have to play boss. Now we do also have the Sableye, which can technically snipe damage, but it's not a very powerful snipe. It's mainly Sableye is going to be used for cleaning up damage and getting tricky knockouts here and there. But we still need to be able to have a boss option so we can boss up things, knock them out. And yeah, then 1 copy of Clara, so we can get back our Pokemon. Ordinary Rod goes into deck, Clara goes directly back to the hand, so it could be nicer recycling Radiant Charizard later in the game. 1 copy of Raihan, just because Raihan is a really good supporter, and it helps us power up our Radiant Charizard earlier than we should. It can help us power up our Snorlax technically, because we do have Twin Energy. We can just Raihan into the Snorlax, search Twin Energy attached to the Snorlax, 180, which is not bad. Raihan has a bunch of different uses. And then finally 1 copy of Thornton, because Thornton allows you to switch basic Pokemon into pile with 1 of your basic Pokemon in play and keep all the effects, turns in play, and special conditions, everything on your Pokemon, even the energy and the cards attached. So maybe if you have to just attach a random fire energy to a Comfey, you can just Thornton Thornton the Comfey into a Radiant Charizard, and boom, there you go, a Radiant Charizard with a fire energy, presumably ready to attack, which is pretty nice. It's also kind of like it's like just another like pseudo recovery tool, because it does like allow you to get Radiant Charizard back, reuse it. Doesn't get the MG back, but it does get the actual Pokemon back, which is usually all you're going to care about. Thornton just has a bunch of niche uses, and when it is used, it is really, really good and pretty impactful, and it's just a really cool effect to have in your toolkit. Next, we have 4 Quick Ball, of course, because we need to be able to search our Pokemon, and our entire deck is basic Pokemon. So Quick Ball is a insanely powerful card, being able to search out every single Pokemon in our deck. And like other Lost Zone Ancient decks, 4 Skip of Net, pretty standard, so we can recycle those Comfeys and get maximum use out of their abilities. That not only gets us card in the Lost Zone to fuel our powerful attacks and our trainer cards, but also allows us to, it's our engine and draws us cards and finds us the cards we need. Next, I can't get the Skip of Net right. Next, Mirage Gate, 4 copies of them. Really, really powerful trainer card, allowing you to search your deck for 2 different types of basic energy, attach them to 1 of your Pokemon, as long as you have 7 cards in a Lost Zone. It's a really versatile card, allows you to power up your Radiant Charizard earlier than you should be, allows you to power up your Snorlax attack with that. It can power up a Cramorant even. It just has a lot of different uses, and it's super, super good. And it's one of our main build-arounds in the deck. Next, 3 copies of Fog Crystal, because it not only does it search out our Psychic Energy and allows us to get turn attachments down on the turns we want, like even just searching it or playing a Fog Crystal, search Psychic Energy and attaching to a Comfey on turn 1 going first. That can be nice because it allows us to give it a retreat next turn. It can also search out the physical Comfey as well as Sableye. It has a bunch of different uses for getting our energy when we need it, which is nice, as well as getting a Comfey, because usually we want 2 Comfeys by turn 2, or usually probably hopefully turn 1, actually, now I think about it. And Fog Crystal just helps us do that. Next, 3 copies of Ultra Ball, because more search is better. So alongside our 4 Quick Ball, our 4 Ultra Ball will also help us find all of our Pokemon. 2 copies of Hisui and Heavy Ball, which is usually a one-of in a lot of decks, but this deck we have so many one-of attackers that we do not want to get. We do not want getting prized if we need them in a game. And Hisui and Heavy Ball can help us find them. Now, the reason we're playing 2 instead of 1 is because our deck does not have as much aggressive dig as a Celebration's Mew item engine does. We only get to look at the top 2 cards per ability that we're using on the Comfey, and 2 sometimes isn't that much. So having a second Hisui and Heavy Ball to help us find it if we really need it, then that's just good to have second one in case we really need to find it. 2 copies of Ordinary Rod, because it recycles our attackers, as well as recycling energy, so we don't run dry on energy in the deck, and so we can actually get continually getting value out of our Mirage Gate. But of course, also the recycling Pokemon is super important because we have so few attackers. All our attackers essentially are one-ofs. and that can help us recycle them alongside the Clara and the Thornton. Then we have one copy of Escape Rope because it's just another switching effect, but also forces something to the bench. So if you just need one prize to take a knockout, and your opponent's like a Palkia, so like a giant Palkia in the active, and like a bunch of one prize Pokemon, you can just Escape Rope them and then take a knockout on the one prize that you need per game. I've lost to Escape Rope multiple times with Palkia playing it myself. It's definitely pretty good if it's used in the right scenario. But not only is it forcing something down from your opponent, but it also can just be a switch on like turn 1, which is nice. And then we have 2 copies of Air Balloon, so we can move around our Pokemon even more. That's the main thing you want with the Comfy Engine, having almost as many Pokemon switch effects as you possibly can. 2 copies of Choice Belt because it helps us with our math on our Cramorant as well as our Radiant Charizard. Radiant Charizard mainly is the one we really want here for. It also can maybe potentially have it help us with Snorlax math, but mainly it's here for the Radiant Charizard and Cramorants. But a super, super strong card. We want to be able to have 2 of them. Stadiums to Training Court because we want to be able to bump Path because Path does shut down our Radiant Charizard's ability, and that is not good. Radiant Charizard is an essential part of our game plan. We don't want that being shut off. So we have the Training Court. So during the turns that we do need the Radiant Charizard, if Path is in play, we can just bump the Path and go on our merry way, attacking with Charizard and taking knockouts. Then for energy, we have 3 Fire Energy, 3 Psychic Energy, 3 Water Energy, and 1 Twin Energy. And it's a little bit awkward to line up a bunch of different types of energy, but the reason behind the Water Energy, which is probably the one that looks the most out of place here, is mainly because having a 3rd type of energy in the deck to accelerate Mirage Gate is super, super good. And I was watching Eric from Rare Candy's video about Giratina, and he was explaining that having Water Energy in the deck alongside the other 2 basic energy types is really helpful for having the different types of energy in the deck so you get maximum value off of Mirage Gate. Now in this deck specifically, I believe in Eric's list he ran for the Giratina, he ran 5 Grass, 5 Psychic, 3 Water. Now our deck is not as starving for energy as the Giratina deck is, but it is still nice to have that extra type. Now, not only is it used in this deck to have an extra type, but can also be used to attack with Cramorant in the early stages, technically. But it's really just mainly here for the 3rd type. And then Twin Energy is a little bit obvious, I think. It's really just here for the Radiant Charizard, helping you attack with that just a little bit earlier. But as I mentioned, also you can use it to attack with Snorlax, which is a Raihan with Snorlax attached to Energy is kind of cool. So if you have that Raihan in your opening hand, you don't have much going, and just Snorlax, then there you go. You have just a 198 hit you can pull off. And yeah, that's be it for the video, guys. I really enjoying this deck with a couple games I played with it. It also seems super strong, as I mentioned before. One of the more popular decks in Japan right now, I feel, is this deck. And for a good reason, it has a lot of potential. It's just a almost purely single price deck that just takes advantage of the powerful milestone cards. And yeah, that's going to be it for the video, guys. If you guys liked it, don't forget to like. If you guys want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. I do videos like this. Actually, more recently, I've been doing them every other day, which is something I'm going to hopefully continue to do, is putting out a video every other day. So if you guys want to see videos like this one and others every other day, don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, so do it. Hope you guys liked it. So guys, see you guys in the next one.